It doesn't work. The next episode of... Better late than never. Better late than never. There's the drum roll to introduce the next episode of the Cathode Ray podcast. I'm joined by my friend Steve Nutter, as always. And on today's episode, we have the pleasure of talking to Maciej Kobus, who is a developer out of Poland. You may know him as Webhdx, the creator of the new Picoboot project for GameCube. If you're in the scene, you've been checking out what's happening with this. We're really happy to have Maciej here today. How you doing, mate? You having a good day?
Yeah. So welcome everybody. Thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure. It's first time for me to participate in the podcast. So I will be a little bit stressed during the recording. Hope it's all right. And I had a good day at work, so it's a pleasure to be here and with you and talk to you.
That's cool, man. So
about some of my projects.
So you're living in Katowice in Poland right now.
Correct.
That's where you're
right.
Polish. That's where you come from. You're a software developer by day and a hardware developer by night. As such,
exactly.
Okay. So did you grow up in Katowice?
I grew up really close to Katowice, like 20 minutes drive from Katowice, in a smaller city. But I moved here 4 years ago, I think.
Okay.
Because I work here, so it was more convenient.
Right. Is it the sort of thing where, like, even now a smaller city like Katowice has those sort of good jobs, and like you don't have to move to Warsaw to get like a nice job these days?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course. And right now, after the pandemic, I think that more companies are open for remote work. So even right now, I work from my home. So I'm too lazy to go to the office, basically. So for the past 2 years, I've been working from home. Right?
Okay, nice one. So this is the way these sort of interviews go that Steve and I do, we sort of want to get to know you a little bit. So the first thing that kind of struck me was that you work in software during the day, but hardware hacking is what you do after the sun goes down. What's your background? Were you trained in like computer science? Did you study that, or how did you get into tell us how you kind of came to the software and hardware thing?
Yeah, so I will start with that. I have a master's degree in computer science. Yes, but like half of my life I've been doing I've been coding in PHP. So I am doing web development, and this is how I earn money basically. But I was always interested in gaming, and by that I mean that I always liked having consoles, but I wasn't necessarily playing a lot of games. My brother was playing like a lot. I was mostly like fascinated by the hardware, so this is why why right now I'm doing like a lot of hardware stuff.
When you Maciej, by the way, just to give me, I can ask you because you're a guy. How old are you?
I am 30 years
30
old.
years old. Okay, so because I'm trying to get a grasp on like when you were growing up, what were the consoles that are around? Like, I guess, did you have the Dendy available to you? Is that the main one when you were growing up, or is that a bit earlier for you?
Dendy, I think it's like a NES clone.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, did you have that even in Poland? Because we had it here in Estonia.
No, in Poland we had Pegasus, and it was like the same thing, but it was called Pegasus.
Okay,
Pegasus.
with the yellow cartridges?
Yes.
Cool. Okay.
I've never even heard of either of those things.
Obviously, I started with that. Of course, I had like a bunch of them because they were like not the best quality, so they were breaking a lot. But I had that. I think I have the best memories. I think I have with the first PlayStation, the PSX.
Okay.
It was like my childhood console, and this is the time when I was playing. I was actually playing games. So,
Steve, to fill you in, so the first of all, the Dendy was a clone of the original Famicom that was made in the Soviet Union because it's the Soviet Union. They're not just importing this stuff, right? And it's the Soviet Union, so they don't give a shit about copyrights or anything like that. And sort of the further you go, I mean, Estonia was a little bit closer to the Soviet Union, definitely into Russia. Like every household had one of these, and the yellow. When I say to just regular people, did you play games? They're like, the yellow cartridges. And everybody knows those when they were growing up in such countries. So, okay. So now, the first PlayStation you had, did you put a mod chip in it?
Yes. I mean, it was how it is, how it was during that times, especially in Poland. You could buy like pirated games in like computer stores, so it was very accessible back then.
That's crazy. Yeah. So when was that the first mod you did, or did you do something else to like the first one?
No. My parents actually bought us, me and my brother, a modded PlayStation. So because I was very young back then, so I probably couldn't do it myself. I would only break the console. But
Actually, my friends and I, we were in university by this stage, having our first PlayStation about the year 2000. And it was a huge thing to get a PlayStation, and we tried to mod it, and we fucked it up. And we broke a PlayStation. And look, even till today, just this morning, I got a comment on one of my videos telling me how shitty my soldering jobs are. So nothing's changed in the last 20 years.
Yeah. You know what? I'm doing hardware stuff, but for example, last year I broke 2 GameCube, so it happens to me as well.
I can imagine after the research that you've done, that's going to happen. You're gonna break a couple of them.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about how many CRTs I've broken. Not anybody else's, thankfully.
All right, but I bet
you learn somewhere.
You've brought a few back from the dead
as
well. Having said that,
so what was like the first? Like your first endeavor into actually some kind of hardware, either modification or like when would have been like the first thing you would have picked up a soldering iron? Like what would have gotten you to that point?
I think that one of my first memories, I remember that it was a couple years later and a few years later, and I had PlayStation 2, and I remember that I had the Slim model. And there was that mod that you could add like the hard drive to it. You had to solder like 40 cables.
Onto the Slim. That's a hard one, yeah.
Yes. It was very difficult. And I remember that it was one of the first things I tried, and obviously it didn't work.
Yeah.
So
you ruined your PlayStation 2 doing that.
Yes, correct. Yeah, that happened.
Okay, and that was like when the PlayStation 2 was still current. Like, this is some expensive thing for you to have.
I think so. Yeah.
I've seen that mod. I didn't want to try that one. I thought, screw it, I'll just have the fat thing sitting on the table.
Yeah, all the PlayStation 2 mods, especially, can be really like those are like artisan. Like you got to be like an artisan craftsman to really be able to make those look good and work. Work's important. I mean, I've seen plenty of them that work that still look like terrible if you opened it up, and it'd be a wire mess. It really is. Nowadays, people really take that stuff seriously and have gotten really good at it.
I mean, with PlayStation 2, we have it can be soft modded.
Yeah,
this is, I think, a better way to do things, and I hope that more consoles future could be soft modded as well. I mean, sadly, I will maybe. I think it's not a surprise. GameCube is my favorite console, and sadly, it can be soft modded. There are some people are trying to do it. Even lately, there was like a discussion because someone thought that there could be an exploit in the let's say GameCube Mini, and it turned out to be not possible to actually exploit that. Yeah, but we will see maybe in the future.
So, what is it about specifically? Like, what is it about the GameCube that drew you in? Was it just like one console that you got kind of early on when it was released and really got into it, or is it something that you picked up later on in life and fell in love with?
Yeah, you know what? It's really interesting because I don't have like because Nintendo as a company was not really popular in Poland. I mean, nobody had like GameCube, and even Wii. I think there weren't that many in Poland. And I remember that I picked GameCube way after it was already finished. But I don't know. It was like a love from the first sight. So I just love it. Basically, I don't know. It's maybe also because I started tinkering with it early on, and I find it like really simple compared to some other consoles. So probably this is why I pick it up, and why I am still doing stuff with it right now.
Were you able to buy that GameCube like locally, or you bought it secondhand and got it imported to Poland later?
No, I think I bought it in Poland on online auctions website or something like that.
Oh, okay.
I don't really remember, but I still have my childhood GameCube, so it's still there on my desk.
Nice.
Yeah, that's cool. There's not so many GameCubes in Estonia, like one or two I see occasionally pop up. Wii was more popular here. I see a few Wiis, but they're definitely holding their value. People want at least 50, 60 euros for a Wii still, and I'm like, tell him he's dreaming. There's too much for a Wii. But for some reason, they're holding their value. But GameCube's very rare in Estonia here. So an N64, almost nothing. Sort of before that, it was sort of the end of the 90s when no one had any money anyway. It was still Dendies there.
The GameCube was it was one of my favorite consoles. I remember getting it right when it came out, and I was actually still in college too when that happened. So I remember playing it a lot on this little CRT at the time. And the thing to me that I just loved about it was the whole idea of how Nintendo would the hardware, of course, looked really cool, right? That whole, even still, the aesthetics of the GameCube's awesome.
One right there. Yep.
But like it's so fun to have the mini discs. That's so cool. You guys got the orange one. I don't have that one here. I've got a purple and a silver one.
I'll bring you back from
Yeah,
Japan
I
next
need
time
that.
I go, just for you, Steve. So yeah, sorry, Steve, you were saying. So when you what games did you start with, Steve? When you got your GameCube in college, fresh?
Yeah,
straight up?
so I remember specifically some of the first games that I really got into would have been Pikmin. I know that sounds weird. You remember that game?
Yeah.
Where you?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, so that was probably the first one I really got into. I used to like sports games, like football, even though I never played it or anything. I just always liked those sports games, especially when the graphics got a little bit better after they started. I mean, the PlayStation 1 didn't really have good graphics for sports games. And then somehow GameCube made this transition where it was more of like the modern look. So I played a lot of those wrestling games, good old-fashioned wrestling games. They were good on there. And that was more of a carryover from the N64. That was my favorite thing when I was younger, was N64 wrestling games. And so that carried me over. I really liked the N64, so when the GameCube came out, that was the one I bought, as opposed to like here where you had the options of trying to get that or the other consoles that were kind of in the console war at that point. What about you? What specific games do you like? I mean, now I like to play just about anything on it that is interesting or good, but what about you guys? What do you like?
Maciej, what do you like? What did you start with on the GameCube, let's say?
Okay, so I think like my single favorite game is Eternal Darkness.
Okay.
Do you remember
Yeah,
that
yeah.
game? Yeah, I would love to see like a successor to Eternal Darkness. Sadly, probably it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
I love playing Monkey Ball on GameCube.
Nice.
It's also a really
Very
great
good
game.
one.
Yeah, and you may laugh, but actually there's like one sports game, and it's Beach Spikers. It's like a volleyball game, and I really like that one. I don't know, it's like really entertaining, and so I played it a lot, and also I have a lot of memories with wrestling games as well, because during the PS2 era, me and my brother, we were a huge wrestling fans, and we were playing a lot of wrestling games as well.
Awesome. So you were wrestling fans in Poland.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yes,
I'm
we
keen
have
to
to know what wrestling are we talking about? Like WWF at the time, or is it like something else? Or
Okay, so when I was really young, I remember that there was in the TV we could see WCW back then. So I have like some memories with that. WWF, I remember that as well. And for me personally, I was a huge fan of classic TNA.
the TNA, classic TNA.
Yes,
okay,
yes, Total Nonstop.
that's
Yes,
awesome.
yes.
See, that's like, so where I grew up in outside of Nashville, Tennessee, is where like all the people that ran that company were from. So, for example, I've talked to some people about this. My wife's sister owns a dance studio for kids in the town, and they do like ballet. It's from age 2 to 18. And every year there's an annual recital, and it's at the big place in Nashville. And I was at their one recital where my wife, she was teaching at the time there, and we had Kurt Angle and Jeff Jarrett in the stands because Jeff Jarrett's daughters took dance from the studio. And it was so funny because Kurt Angle was his ex-wife married Jeff Jarrett. And so they were both there as like, you know, splitting time with the kids at the event. And I was just laughing with my friends. I was like, you would never believe we got the TNA powerhouse here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really cool. Like that you would, TNA, and that's actually still around. It's been rebought by Billy Corgan, I think.
What?
Yeah, the Smashing Pumpkins guy.
Yeah,
He bought,
yeah.
and now it's called Impact. Just Impact.
Yeah, but it's not
Oh
the same.
no, it's not the same.
mean,
I've watched it. It's not. It's
yeah, I don't like to nerd out on wrestling because it was like a long time ago for me. But by classic TNA, I mean the times where there was like Sabu in TNA, there was Raven, AJ Styles, and this kind of guys.
yeah.
So it was like a long time ago.
Yeah, like I went to one TNA house. No, I went to a TNA, couple TNA events. But the best one was the one that wasn't on TV, and it was like the place that you went, Lewis, with your nephew. It was just a fairgrounds.
Small little. Okay, yeah.
And it was TNA, and yeah, they had. I remember, Raven was there, and Sabu was not there. Abyss was there, if you remember that guy. He was like a huge version of Mankind with like a mask or something. But yeah, that was those shows were so fun to look back on, and it's kind of like now it's not as the same. It's almost just like you're watching it to try to catch some edge of nostalgia from when you were younger and feel that way again.
Yeah, it's okay, Maciej. The wrestling is a common topic on this podcast, so you don't have to worry. All the time we're talking about wrestling. I'm not even that much into it, like a little bit, but not as much as Steve's our ambassador.
I actually was out of it for a long time because it just got on my nerves after I got a little bit older. And I've only been watching more recently in the AEW stuff because a client of mine kind of got me into it. So normally I would just talk about it like you would, just reminiscent memories, but I actually have been watching some more lately. But let's not talk about that. Let's get back to
let's go back to the
get back to this
GameCube.
good stuff.
So I wanted to, the next thing with the GameCube, I think, is like how did you start poking around and prodding around inside of a GameCube? You tried the PS2, this didn't go so well, and now you're like, I've got one GameCube, I'm gonna do better at this one.
Yeah, so I think I obviously started by installing a mod chip in it. And back then I think it was Xeno GC, so probably the most popular one. Then I remember that I replaced that with Viper GC. So it was Viper GC is like a very old chip, but it's working the same as Picoboot, so it shares the same approach. So probably this is how I started with GameCube. Okay. So doing some.
The Vipers you must have done that a while ago because the Viper GC is hard to find. For a long time now.
I have one here. So,
right.
Yeah, I have one here. Yeah.
That's cool. I've never seen that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you've been able to buy them like easily for years and years now.
Yeah. Yeah, with GameCube, there was like that time when we had like Viper, Cube, and some other mod chips. They were called replacement mod chips, so they work different from the Xeno GC. And then the companies, I think they stopped the business, and you couldn't, we were no longer able to buy those mod chips, and we were left with only Xeno. And this is why I was really upset about the whole situation, and this is how Picoboot came to life.
So it was out of this leaving from the Viper chip being unavailable that you kind of drove you into the position of trying to come up with your own solution.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Great.
Yes.
So so there, as I understand, tell me if I've got the terminology correct. The Viper and your Picoboot's an IPL solution. It's not the drive solution like the Xeno GC is. Sorry.
Right.
So if I understand correctly, the IPL, like essentially the brains or the main code is either open source or it's already been discovered or something like that. What's up with that actual core code?
I mean, IPL, it stands for Initial Program Loader, and this is how we call the GameCube menu. So that's that. And I think there was one open source IPL mod chip available. It was called Shuriken Attack. I think it was done by a guy from UK. I actually talked to him because I started actually my research with his open source code, and I was checking how it works and learning that way. And I can say that Picoboot is basically based on his approach. So I also put his name in the repository because he helped me a lot actually.
Sure. Okay. Do you basically solder onto the same points as the Viper did, or is there some difference between? Okay, basically it.
Yeah, more or less, yes.
Okay. I did this installation myself a few days ago. Besides my crappy soldering, it went fine. I was trying to think. For me to solder onto the fine points of the chip, the two wires that need to go onto the actual chip, that was a little tricky, but okay, I could handle it. So if I can handle it, hopefully most people who own a soldering iron can handle it with a little bit of patience. I always find it hard to put the wires the correct length. I'm not good at sort of doing that part and kind of routing it around. So I guess take me through. I guess just walk us through a bit about. Tell us about. Okay, you're getting this guy, the guy from the UK. He had the code. You work with him, and you start poking around, and you start. I don't know. Tell us a little bit about that process for you.
So because I had I started development of Picoboot like a year ago, I think. And I basically what I wanted to do, I want to take this guy. I think this guy is called Steven, so maybe I can go by his name. So Steven shared his code open source. It is available on his website. So I took that, and what I really wanted to do is like make a PCB for that and just use it. But then I realized that with his approach, you have to lift a leg on that chip that you have to solder the wires, and by lifting that leg, I personally broke two consoles that way, so it was not going to work for, I think, majority of people. And then I started thinking, I mean, it's cool because it worked, but it's difficult to install, and nobody will even use my PCB because, and I don't want to like take responsibility for broken consoles. So I was thinking maybe I can improve that in some way. Yeah, so basically, I took his code, I improve it so you no longer have to lift that leg on that chip, and it was already good. I felt like it's okay. I can share the design and make it open source as well, and that would be great. But then Raspberry Pi Pico came out, and I remember that because Raspberry Pi Pico has like one single feature that is really interesting. I mean, it separates it from any other microcontroller. And I remember that I was thinking, there is a slim chance that with this single feature, I can basically implement the mod chip on the Raspberry Pi Pico.
What is this feature then?
It's called PIO, Programmable Input Output, and it's not really meant to do stuff I'm doing with Picoboot, but you can somewhat do some stuff that is really only possible with FPGAs. But it's like really light FPGA stuff, not like a lot, but some stuff can be done on Raspberry Pi Pico. And it was like because with this IPL replacement approach, it's not really possible with some like Arduino and ESP32s and so on. So you couldn't do that with these microcontrollers. But with that single Raspberry Pi Pico feature, it's possible. And instantly I was like, okay, so there is a challenge. I will do it. And 1 year later, I mean, we have a mod chip. So yeah, that was cool. I mean, for me, it was just a challenge. I wanted something to install in my consoles because I have like, I think, more than 10 GameCubes at the moment. So I wanted to have mod chips for them. And I mean, there is also another aspect to the whole situation, because the GameCube scene, if you look at it right now, it's not like that active as, for example, the Nintendo 64 scene or PS2 scene or Dreamcast scene. So I was always, because I have like a big love for GameCube, I was always hoping that maybe someday people will be more interested in GameCube and programming for that, doing homebrew stuff. So so I knew that if I can make the mod chip that is like really accessible and it doesn't use any custom hardware, I don't have to sell like custom PCBs, and you don't, for example, have to do it yourself. So you don't have to assemble the board yourself, and it will be really cheap because Raspberry Pi Pico is only $4. So it's like, it can be cheaper than that basically. And I thought that it will be actually like a cool thing for this whole scene, because more people will be interested in GameCubes, and maybe we'll see more homebrew developers that way. I don't know. I hope that it will happen with Picoboot.
Yeah, I'd just like to commend you on that approach. It's great to have, because a lot of times you could have just said, okay, well, we've got an idea, it's worked, the pin lifting is challenging, and we'll just go with it. And then, like you say, then you're stuck talking to people a lot about the specific boards you've designed, and you've really gone out of your way to make it more everything. Like, it's more affordable. I'm sure it costs less than trying to sit there and design the board and then build it out. It's just $4.
Yeah, of course.
And then to be able to, it's accessible, way more accessible for everybody. I think that's the biggest thing. Is this, from what I could tell after your mod came out and all the, scene accepted it, and there's just so much, bigger channels on YouTube talking about it. The GameCube's back with a refresher, and now I see all these other things too coming from that, other people's adding to it, like even the 3D print designs that people are adding to be able to, like Greg from Laser Bear had some just an install thing to put the Pico in. And so I do think that the way you did this will help the whole scene. And I got to say, commend you. Thank you for that, because again, the idea of being able to put it on something so accessible, even in the parts fiasco, whatever, now, a Raspberry, that part is much easier and accessible for everybody in the world, as opposed to a custom mod chip that you have to build and buy.
Yeah, thank you. This is exactly what I wanted to achieve with Picoboot, and I think it checks all the boxes, at least what I intended it to do. So it's like really accessible, it's really cheap, easy to install, and easy to program, because that's also a huge to it.
And I know that a lot of people in the scene have really appreciated that. And we kind of like talked just briefly about this, because since you did all that work, I don't think people realize, some other people might come out with a product and then sell that product and then try to recoup some of the invested time and also by selling that product. But you didn't even go on that approach, so that other people could just do it on their own and easily get these parts. And again, it's just a small little bit of solder work. But then people wanted to come and support you in some way and help you out and pay you back. But surprisingly, I was kind of surprised how quickly this happened. There started showing up, you had mentioned like fake ghost accounts that were like leading people to improper places to basically, support you in some way, of either like buy a coffee, like people have set on their GitHubs and things like that. What was, I don't know, what was that like when, it's got to be frustrating and disappointing, I'm sure, but did you, what happened? How did you find that? Did somebody send you that? Or did somebody say, I sent you some money and you didn't say thank you or something?
Yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, so I will start with that. I'm not really mad that people are trying to right now profit from the if they want to sell a commercial product, like maybe they will create a new Pico board and sell it. I'm fine with that, seriously. Yeah, but of course I am accepting donations, and this is because I need money to basically create new products, new projects, and develop new stuff. Yeah, so yeah, exactly that happened. So I put a PayPal link. Someone asked me on Twitter about how they can use PayPal to send me the money. So I sent them a PayPal link, and I think a day later they told me that, oh, there is like a fake account that is trying to impersonate you. I wasn't aware of that because that account blocked me, so I couldn't see their tweets. This is why they didn't pick it up instantly, and I think 2 people sent money, but I think it wasn't like a lot, so they're fine, okay with that, and yeah, and I think that account is actually blocked right now. So
well, that's good.
That's
okay, because I mean,
Yeah.
so, yeah. It's unfortunate the way the world is that sometimes stuff like that happens. So then let's talk about then the sellers, these sellers on AliExpress, and you talked about that, and we wanted to be clear and have this opportunity so you can explain exactly your thoughts and exactly how you feel. So there are sellers on AliExpress. They sell you a Pico, whether it's a real one or not, we're not sure. The wires, the whole thing to do. So what was your feelings about that?
Okay, because I started small drama on Twitter about that thing. Yeah. I mean, this is not what I intended. Basically, yeah, they started selling the full kits, so you can install Picoboot. You will have like thermal pads, some cables, shrink wrap, and so on. So yeah, it's really convenient. I gotta say that it's really convenient. Yeah, but the thing that because the mod chip is open source, it's under GPL license. You can do that. They are fully allowed to do that. They can sell it, and as long as I don't think they are like selling the firmware, so it's all okay because they're only selling hardware that I didn't create. So that's fine. But the issue I had with them is that they put installation diagram in the listing in the auction, and I mean, it would be okay if they just put it and didn't modify it in any way, but for some reason they removed the logo and try to hide the thing that it's open source. I don't know why, because like, is that a problem for them? I don't know, and this is why I was a little upset about that. But I messaged the seller and they took it down, so at least that's okay. And as I said, I am fully okay with that. They are selling these kits because even people from the community are right now, as you said, Steve, they are creating like 3D printed stuff, and they will eventually start selling them. So I think that's great. Yeah.
That's fair enough, as well, and it's good to be clear about that. And you kind of posed philosophically the question, why would they do that? The best answer I have is just because that's sort of like the default mode for them, for those sort of companies. You know, even though actually, if they just put the picture, it would have been fine. But default mode is wipe clean, do this, da da da. I don't know. I guess.
Yeah, it's a shame because I mean, like you did. I mean, you said you were in development for a year on this project. I don't know how many hours you could have possibly put into this. I don't know if you have an I mean, I'm sure you have an idea, but just the fact that just following the license and leaving that on there so people know where the design came from is kind of essential, I think, too. And it's so yeah, I mean, if you're going to be polite enough to offer it to people to open source and have them, you know, be able to sell it, it's like you say, that's not the problem. It's when they get in and either alter the diagram from basic, but you said they just basically removed all your information on it and used the same thing, right?
Yes. I mean, for the diagram, I had to like take photos of the GameCube motherboard, so I put a lot of work into it actually, and I would have been fine if they just put it, but do not remove the logo and so on. So I am not sure why they did that, but it's removed now. So
did they,
so
just
remove the whole?
They just
whole
removed
listing?
the whole listing instead of
no, they removed the diagram. The listings are there.
So they just removed the diagram. They instead of going back and putting the diagram in its original right form, They're like, oh, well, we'll just
Yes.
take the diagram down. See, they have,
Yes.
I think they have a problem with letting other people get credit for anything or something. It's like, no, we
Yes,
did
I
this.
mean,
Sorry.
yeah, because there's also another issue with that, because the same people are selling like cloned product. They sell they sell cloned GC Loader. They sell cloned GD EMU for Dreamcast. So even though they are not stealing from me, they are stealing from somebody else. So this is why I don't like these people, basically.
Okay, sure.
They are stealing from my friends, basically.
Well, sure, they're all
Right?
our friends. They're stealing from everybody in the
Yes.
community. I mean, we have a
So-
community here of people like you working hard, and yeah, they come in
Yeah,
and
of
undercut
course.
us. And
Yeah. So I don't like that, basically. This is why I was initially upset on Twitter, because I noticed that maybe they can sell the kits, but I know that these people are really shady. So
That's fair enough. It's like, I mean, how to say, could I just not be associated with you at all? You can do it. All right,
yeah,
fine,
exactly.
Sure,
Yeah.
but just please take my thing right off, right on. That makes sense, because you never know, right? Someone's just looking at the listing, they see Webhdx, they're like, oh, Webhdx, oh, maybe Bitfunks is okay. No,
no.
it's not.
Yeah, and there's another thing, because with diagrams, I think because the Picoboot is like it's really popular right now, but people should be aware that it's like very experimental at the moment, and especially right now while we have like Pico W, which was released actually the same date as Picoboot. Pico W is like a Raspberry Pi Pico, but with Wi-Fi module. So I plan to switch to Pico W and use some Wi-Fi features in the mod chip. And for that, I will have to also change the wiring a little bit. This is why I don't want anyone to post the diagrams, but rather route people to the repository where I know that the diagrams will be up to date.
Okay,
good
so that's
point. Very
interesting.
good
So, so many people. I mean, as soon as it was hard for people to like, not hard, sorry, but like so interesting that the Picoboot comes out on the same day as the Pico W, and it's just madness upon madness for everyone getting so enthusiastic for the first time. The GameCube's come in ages. So, what do you see in the future that could be done with the Pico W?
Okay, I will try to not get really technical because the approach I am using right now is really simple and naive, and I want to basically redo the whole thing and do it much better because back then I was thinking it's not possible to make it better, but I think that I can improve it so that it should be possible to like fully communicate with the mod chip. And for example, because if you have like a Wi-Fi chip on it, why can't we, for example, expose that Wi-Fi capabilities to GameCube? So you can, for example, I don't know, in your homebrew, you would be able to use that Wi-Fi chip to communicate with the internet, right? So in order to do that, I have to like change the approach with Picoboot, and I want to do that. I think the single biggest feature that I think that should be possible is providing the possibility to auto-update via Wi-Fi, and I think it would be actually really cool to do that. And as I said, because a lot of people are asking about the possibility to, for example, emulate the broadband adapter with Wi-Fi module. I can't say it will be possible, but I think because I am not even sure how fast it will be, but I think that at least I can expose that Wi-Fi chip to the homebrew developers. So I think that would be actually really cool, at least for me, because I have some plans for it as well.
That's a great point. That this reinvigoration, I call it this love letter to the GameCube community that you've created, is going to spark so many other people. People are going to have ideas. To be able to take it in their own directions. I'm one of the fortunate ones to have a broadband adapter. Do you have one of them?
I have two of them,
okay.
yes.
Of course. Nice.
None for me.
And I what? No, yeah.
None for me. I don't have one. They're too expensive over here in the
Right.
US.
I picked one up, again, like most things in Japan somewhere, but I still paid a reasonable amount for it. Well, $50 maybe. But
I have a life hack for that. If you want a cheap broadband adapter, because in Poland, not many people probably know what is it. And if you see like a broadband adapter on the internet, it will be expensive. But what I've done with my broadband adapters, I was looking for like a bundle, so I knew that it's attached to the console. The seller didn't know it's even there, so I was quickly like buying the console, selling the console and games, and the adapter with me.
Nice. So. Because I also saw, I don't know if it's common, but I saw one seller from the UK. I think they're making custom Raspberry Pi style boards, and it was a Pico that had an Ethernet plug built into it, and that. I don't know if that's a standard one. Maybe that's something they built, because that would get around the latency issues or something like that. But I've never seen that kind of Pico anywhere else. Is that a custom thing? Have you seen anything like that?
I mean, it's I think some third-party companies did that, and obviously you can buy that. You are right, but for me, it's not really interesting because. I would like to focus on using official hardware, because I know that if I use Pico board, it will be available for many years ahead. So this is why I would like to. I also get a lot of questions from people about if they can use, for example, another Pico board, like from Adafruit or something. And I am always saying no, because I don't want to support that, because there are like hundreds of the boards with Raspberry Pi with RP 2040 microprocessor. And I can't support everything. I have limited time. I would like to spend focus on making new stuff than supporting Picoboot. Because for the past 2 weeks, I am doing nothing except answering messages, questions, and resolving issues. So yeah, I need to focus on actually developing stuff right now.
That makes sense. So I was very... Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
Oh, I was just going to say, are there any of those questions that you want to like say here? Like if you're getting like the same question 10 times or anything, are they the same, or they just tend to be different things, like somebody having some issue with something else, little different things? Or is it something more common from the bunch of questions in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, so I think that there are some questions that are really frequent, and probably the most asked question is, dude, there is a Pico W board, can I use it? And my answer is, technically it will work. You can use a firmware file and it will work, but obviously you will don't have like the Wi-Fi capabilities. But I haven't tried it yet. I have Pico W boards. I ordered them, but I haven't have time to basically play with them. So that's one common question. Yeah, and there are some people who are having trouble installing the mod chip. And for example, I noticed that Picoboot is really picky about the wire length. So it's if the wires are too long, you will encounter like no picture or black screen or blue screen. I don't know. It depends on your TV. So like my answer, I can answer it right now, shorten your cables, because this is what helps like everyone basically. So you have to keep the cables really short, and I would also like people to do not complicate things and do not try to invent like alternative methods to install the mod chip. Use exactly the soldering points I put in the diagram, because I know that this way it was tested by me and it will work. So don't try to like improve something that is already, I think, really easy to do.
That makes sense.
Or if they do, let them do that on their own time and not bother you about their changes they're trying to do.
Yeah, you know, because people are not really thinking about that. Because if they, for example, release something, or they post something on Twitter regarding Picoboot, then many people obviously will try to do the same thing, and then they don't realize that if someone has problem with that alternative install method, then they will ask me for help, not them.
Yeah.
And I have to spend my time fixing stuff for them. And this is why I would like the community to be fully aware that I know that Picoboot is like a really hot topic right now, but we should be like fully aware of that it's not always the best to like put everything on Twitter and try to improve things, because yeah, I know what I am doing, and I would like to like give people the best experience and like assure them that they won't break their consoles. And with some stuff people are inventing on Twitter, it's not always possible. So yeah, be careful.
Well,
I
it's
was
just Lewis, sorry, man. Here you go this time.
All right. What else, Maciej, is I was impressed. There seemed to be, you see, when the Picoboot was ready to go and you were ready to release, there seemed to be some coordination. You had it and you were like, yo, I'm keeping it under wraps for a week or a few weeks. And then you seem to have the communication with a few key modders, especially like Tito from Macho Nacho, to get some really great videos out. Tell us about that, the way you kind of coordinated that release, because I was really impressed by the way, and I think that's definitely helped its adoption in the community. What was your thinking there?
Yes, so obviously I know how the business works, and I knew that if I want this open source project to be successful, I need like to hit some of the channels, and they need to cover the topic. And because I don't have like a community, my Twitter was the time it was released, I don't know, I had like 500 followers, so it didn't feel right to do the announcement on Twitter. And the story with Macho Nacho, with Tito, is that I was actually working with him on another video, on something different, on Wii Mini mods. And then I told him about the mod chip I am working. And I think that initially he like wasn't exactly, he didn't, because he already had a schedule and he was planning to do some other videos. But then when a week before, I think the release, I started teasing the mod chip on my Twitter. And then I think a lot of people actually went to him and, dude, have you seen that mod chip? It's going to be huge. And then he contacted me and said that he wants to do the video right now on the mod chip. So I actually, the mod chip was ready a few days before the release, but I wanted to wait a little bit for him to make the video. And to give credit, Tito is not the only person that made the video on the release date, because there was also a video from Rocker Gaming. I love the guy. I think he creates great content, especially on GameCube. And I also sent it in advance to Modsville USA.
Okay. Modzilla USA. I heard that one. Who was the guy before?
I mean,
who was the middle guy? Sorry, that you said that you really.
Rocker Gaming. Rocker Gaming.
Rocker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rocker Gaming. Yeah.
Cool. Right. Modsville's the guy with the balaclava, right? Who does the crazy thing and the.
Yes.
Yeah, he's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he does.
Love it.
Yeah, I love his content, so
yeah,
I had no problem sharing the mod chip with him.
Cool.
And of course, I also needed some testers. So this is why I wanted to give it to people that I know that will be able to test it fully. So yeah.
Nice.
So this is how it went. I actually because obviously the Macho Nacho's video is successful. I think it was actually a really good idea to make it with him. Yeah.
Well, I saw even bigger channels a couple days after that start to feature it too. I swear I saw somebody like Spawnwave or somebody.
Spawnwave picked it up, yeah.
And that's a big channel.
I wasn't expecting that, yes.
Yeah.
Because I am like a huge fan of his channel as well. I'm watching like every guy in the community, so yeah, I was not expecting that. Yeah, he didn't contact me or anything, but it was like really surprising, and
So is that like a fun, cool moment for you, even just to be like, holy crap, man,
course.
my work is featured on.
Yes, because I think this channels like every day, so I'm subscribing to them, and I like genuinely I like their content. So if people like Spawnwave want to cover my project, it's like, dude, it's like the awesome feeling, right?
Yeah,
it's great, man. It's real nice. I was going to say, I mean, you've got, I know the time's kind of ticking over, and you got other projects that I kind of wanted to, other things that you've done as well. Is there anything else? Have we not covered on the Picoboot or something else that we should?
No, I think that's pretty much everything. I mean, people should expect some updates in the future, of course. So I am not like, it's not like a finish and done. So it will be improved in the future.
Nice. So, I mean, you've got the two other cool things, the M2 loader and the Wavebird receiver, the things that I was the most interested in. I mean, I guess, I don't know, let's start with the M2 loader. Tell us about this project, and okay, you got a little sample for us there, where it's at right now.
Yeah, I can show you the prototype.
Okay.
Yeah, I will try to focus my camera.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
there we
so
go.
yeah, basically, as you can probably guess by the form factor, it's attached to the same port as broadband adapter. And what is it? Is basically a M.2 SSD adapter for GameCube. So, in simple words, you can basically play games of the SSD. Yeah, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, so the
There's
question is
not much.
then, just so people can understand, how is that different to playing it off the SD to SP thingy and the other port?
Yeah, okay. Because SD2 SP2 adapter is like really simple. Because there are there is no nothing advanced to it. It's just like a simple one-to-one adapter, and it's limited because the SD cards use that protocol called SPI. This is how we can use them on GameCube. GameCube has the data bus that is really similar to SPI, but it's not the same thing. And this creates some issues because in order to provide, because right now we are not like utilizing the full bandwidth of that bus. So in theory, we could make the SD cards work faster on GameCubes. And of course, if you ever use that SD2 SP2 adapter, then you will notice that in some games there is some stutter in full motion videos.
Sure.
Maybe some incompatibility issues and so on. Yeah, and with that M.2 adapter, we can basically overcome some of those issues, and it's I haven't experienced any stutter in any game. So like the compatibility right now is great, but I don't want to like take credit for that because it all comes from that application Swiss, that is like the main homebrew application for GameCube, and basically the support for this device. I only created the hardware, so let's say it first, and the whole like software for it and the support in Swiss was made by the Canadian guy Extremes. I really like this guy because he's like maybe not even many people know about him, but he's like doing all the crazy stuff with GameCubes, and
he's been doing that for a long time. Extremes, right?
I will say that he has a plan, and if you like want to like support anything, please support him because he fully deserves it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So why the M2? Is it the form factor, the speed? I mean, we know that the SSD is way overkill for such a port. What's with the why the M2 then?
Yeah. Okay. So a little backstory on this thing because back in the day there was like open source project for GameCube that allowed you to connect IDE hard drive to the console. It was called IDE EXI, and it was a lot of people I think never heard about that. It was like a niche thing. Wait, I
think I've only heard of it because it was one of the options in Swiss.
Yes, I have it because it was connected to the memory card port, and there you connect like the ribbon, and you connect to the hard drive. And basically, I will reveal all the secret to M.2 loader. This is like IDE EXI in essence, because I am using the same hardware as IDE EXI, like it's fully compatible. But I've added the IDE to SATA bridge, so you can create because there are a lot of questions about the M.2 SSD. It's not like the fancy NVMe SSDs that are crazy fast, and you probably have that one in your computer. This is like the same form factor, but it uses SATA interface. So it's slightly older thing, but I mean it's still like readily available. I think the M.2 SATA SSDs are still like being made, so there's like no risk of they become unavailable. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good point. I think I didn't quite actually understand until this moment the difference between M2 and the NVE new ones. Now you say that clicks in my brain.
Yeah, this is the same form factor, but they use different basically interface. So,
I mean, aren't those ones you have, the M2s, those cost less too? right? I mean,
Yes,
and
M.2 SATA
Yeah.
drives are cheaper. Yes,
Yeah.
of course. Yes, and that's it. The huge advantage of that thing is that M.2 SSDs, if you want to have like 1 terabyte or higher capacities, they are much cheaper than SD cards, because 1 terabyte SD card is like really expensive. There are probably some of them on the market, but they're very expensive. And like I have like 500 gigabytes SSD somewhere, because I have a lot of them actually. I bought it used, and it was like really cheap. So I don't know. I paid like $40 for the SSD, and yeah, with that you have like high capacity, good game compatibility, and there are no like slowdowns and stutter. So yeah, I think it works great. It's based upon the open source project, another open source project. And that's basically it with M.2 loader. I think because we can't talk about M.2 loader without mentioning GCloader.ode for the GameCube, because people are having a problem right now because it's unavailable. I know that because it uses FPGA chips, and FPGAs are really difficult to buy right now. So so that's the problem for them. That's the same problem for me, because this thing is pretty much done, and I can't manufacture it because I can't buy parts. That's the reality we're living in right now.
So that was going to be my next question. What is the status of this? Well, okay, let's put it in a different direction. What's the status, and what do you hope to do with this project?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just because I briefly mentioned the GC loader. I have I have it here. I bought it, so I use it sometimes. But I don't like the fact with any ODE that you get rid of the original disk drive. So for me, it's because I have a huge GameCube library. So I like to play from time to time. I like to put the disc in the console and play that way. So I was feeling that I can do it, and I can save my disk drive, and I knew that it will like have a very similar compatibility, and will be also cheaper to make. So like I think that's
okay. And you intend to make them and sell them?
Yes. So unlike the Picoboot, it won't be open source. I will open source the software for it, because I am required to do that. Because as I said, it's using open source project. But I am going to sell this, but I don't know when, because as I said, I can't buy parts right now. It's really unfortunate time.
Will you still need a Picoboot to get the system going?
Yes, and like Picoboot was one of the puzzles to the M.2 loader project, because unlike the GC loader, which is like the full disk drive emulator, you won't be able to boot the console from M.2 loader. So you need some way to run Swiss in order to use it. And this is why I also really wanted to release Picoboot as open source project, so people can like get it cheaply and don't pay for it. And then I know that they will be ready to buy this and use it. So that was like
what a businessman! Look at this guy. He's all over.
No.
So wait, you're gonna
in a good way. In a good way.
So you get them with this one, and then this next piece, your intention for this one loader accessory, whenever hopefully it's ready and you can sell it, is to have it basically be something you can just almost plug right in, right? Or is it going to be something that needs more soldering or anything?
No, with M.2 loader, you just plug it in. Maybe I can demo that.
Yeah.
I have GameCube here. And it's just because here is the slot that you would normally put the broadband adapter, that Ethernet thing. And it just connects like this.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's really sweet because it's not visible. It's very stealthy, and you don't have to like modify the shell or anything. It's almost plug and play, but obviously you need some way to run Swiss. So either it's like a game exploit or Picoboot. You need something to be able to boot Swiss. Yeah.
I really like
so
that.
cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Good.
What
good
are you
stuff there.
doing? Are you thinking? Okay, the manufacturing is tough right now from the parts. That's what you've said. Are you also? What are your thoughts, or what are you thinking about these guys on AliExpress who clone everything apparently in minus 10 minutes? What are your feelings about this?
I mean, Yeah, that's the single reason why this thing won't be open source. Because if I could, I would be assured that I can make it open source and I could still make some money on it because I spent a lot on this project already. So I would at least would like to recoup some of the costs. Then I would make it open source. But I know that once it's open source, probably a week later it will be all over AliExpress, and I don't want to do that because I also have a family. I have to provide food to them, and I need to make money some way. And I mean, maybe in the future I will make it open source. I don't know, but for the release, I think that I need to. I want to make it available from me, so I will be selling M2 loader. Yes.
Sure, and I think that bit makes sense. But my observation is that you don't have to make it open source for them to clone it. That the GC loader, I think you can get a clone. Like, is there anything you can do in the hardware design, or is there anything you can do to make it harder for them?
Yeah, maybe some kind of copy protection is possible. This is how the GC loader works. It has like copy protection mechanism. So all the GC loaders that you can buy on AliExpress are not fully working. I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
No, I didn't know that actually.
No, I've never bought anything.
It's kind of pathetic because what they are doing, it's I think if you buy it, it will boot Swiss and then it shuts off, and so you can boot Swiss and they will supply you with the SD to SP2 adapter. So they tell you that okay, you are in Swiss, so you should play games from the SD to SP2 adapter, and that's not the same thing, right? Because it's like has lower compatibility, the slowdowns, and so on. So so I think that was actually a good thing because the creator of GC Loader implemented the copy protection to it, and maybe I will do the same for the M.2 loader. It will be kind of difficult with that one actually, but for example with the Wavebird receiver we will be talking about in a moment, I think that it will be fully protected from copying.
Okay, I got one question about the product. Will this be like the first product you've made that you're trying to sell like on a level like that?
I think I mentioned that I am working on some Wii Mini mods as well, and and really soon I will start selling some some kits for Wii Mini, because I will talk about that briefly. I created because you know the Wii Mini, that the
red
redesign
one.
of the I love that one. That's like my second favorite console. And what I've been doing with that one, I actually put because Nintendo removed the SD card from it, they removed the Wi-Fi module, they removed the reset button, and they removed the component output from this thing. And what I was doing, and of course the GameCube ports. And what I was doing with that console is basically bringing back all the stuff they removed. And my next project that I will be actually selling is the easy to install kit that will bring back the SD card and reset button to the console. And this really easy to install. It has the quick solder board, and because you have to drill some holes in the case, but I have the drill guides, so it's really easy to do. And this is I can reveal the secret. It will be also released with the video from Macho. So
okay.
From Macho Nacho. So
that will be your first product that
exactly.
you're selling. Okay, cool.
Yes.
So how has that
my first product
been for you? I mean, it's not easy to not only you got to design it, but then that's a whole other thing that you need to get it made, order it, fill orders, have customer support, the whole ship orders. How's that going for you? What are your thoughts?
I mean, so far I haven't been selling anything, so I don't experience that. But I am fully aware that it will happen. My brother is writing self-published books and he's selling them, so I know how what should I expect. But I have everything set up, because I will be selling it on Tindy, so that's the platform for the creators. I will use that. And I think because obviously I have to manufacture the boards and assemble them. So obviously I won't do that myself, because that would be a lot of work, and I don't have time for that. I contacted, I don't know if you guys know that guy. There is a guy called Lotarek in Poland.
I've heard of
creates-
him. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Lotarek. I think his recent project is like the Medusa scan converter. So it's like a OSSC like product. Yeah, and he's Polish as well, and he lives like 30 minutes drive from me. So I contacted him, and he has like a full facility and all the machines to assemble the PCBs. So basically, I will work with him on creating my projects.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And I'm all for European sellers of things because usually everyone's either China or America. So I'm all about it.
Yes, and I am really excited about that cooperation because, I could go to like any company that assembles the electronic products, but I know that he is like, because he is creating like some upgrades to retro computers and those, and I know that he knows exactly what I want to do, and he feels like the same, he had the same feelings about some of the consoles and stuff like me, so I know that we'll get along nicely. Actually, the first time I went to him to talk about the business, I think we spent like 4 hours talking about consoles and computers. So he's a great guy, and I think that I couldn't like choose a better person to do it with.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was like, you really got lucky. You're 30 minutes away from somebody who's not just a manufacturer, who actually is passionate about this business. Because I've had conversations with other people have had terrible experiences, at least, even legitimate manufacturers they worked with for years. In the last 2 years, have had just nightmare experiences working with them. And then at the same time, sometimes you'll have like 5 different products tooled in one facility, and you could have your product being tooled next to one of your competitors' products, and then like there's a lot of that people stealing design information just in the manufacturing facilities based on the things that are maybe left in the machine from the last job that they were doing for a couple hours or something. So it's very important that you find out, vet almost the manufacturer. That sounds like you got a great relationship going there.
Yeah, and you know what? I actually think that this is exactly what is happening with people assembling their products in China. I think I may be wrong on that thing, but I think that GC Loader, that OD for GameCube, was actually manufactured in China, and they basically stole the design files from the factory. Because if you look at the PCB of that clone, it's like 1-to-1. It's like you can't like tell the difference. It's like the same thing. So I strongly believe that they stole the Gerber files and created the PCB, and the story.
That's great. Does that mean as well if Lothar, is he also making these prototypes for you? Like the one you got
No. All the prototypes I am soldering by hand because that wouldn't make sense to basically run the full machinery to do them. But if we are talking about like the full production run, or like making hundreds of them, of course you need some machines and to do that. And he has like everything, and I mean, I feel really good knowing that I can work with a fellow Pole and keep my money basically. So not like a person somewhere in the world,
It's really good, and I'll be buying them from you. I'll be buying them because I'll have a decent shipping rate from Poland to Estonia. So whatever you sell, mate, I'll be.
Dude, next year I will basically go to Estonia and bring it with me. So
let's do it. We're gonna do a live podcast in Estonia. We're gonna test it live here on camera. Oh, that's gonna be tip top. That's great. All right, so there's the M2 loader, and the last big thing we talked about your Wii Mini thing, which is very cool, and that gives me the inspiration to go buy a Wii Mini. If you're selling that thing, are Wii Minis, just I guess as a quick side note on that one, they're still really expensive at Estonia. Like people are dreaming, they want like 100, 120 euros for one of those red ones here.
Interesting. I mean, I can get them cheaper here in Poland. I think I paid like 50 euro, and it was like complete in box and everything. So
okay, then guess what? Guess what? You're also bringing to Estonia with you.
Okay. I have like 5 of them, so I can like give you one. No problem.
Oh, this is good. We'll don't worry. We'll work on a deal. It's all right. So okay, nice.
So you can get them for $46 for just the console.
All right.
And those are goodness gracious. I don't think I remember this Wii.
You remember
this
that?
is a red one, and it's a
redesign.
black top that just flips up or something.
Yeah, because nobody likes it basically because it's like it's very limited. Yeah.
I bet I could go find that in a Goodwill because they wouldn't even know what it is if it ever showed up in there, like a thrift store.
All right, I know time's getting on, but tell us about a lot of people are going to be interested. The Wavebird receiver. Tell us about your Wavebird receiver. You got one right
Yeah,
there.
so I mean, if people don't know what is Wavebird, it's like the wireless controller for GameCube.
Love it.
Yeah, and I will. Why I created the receiver? Because there is like a huge problem if you lost this receiver. I mean, because this is my prototype. If you lost the original one, there is a problem because you can't buy the separate receivers. They are really, really expensive. I think the receiver only is like close to $50, so it's really expensive for what
it's
it is.
$50. Yeah.
And yes, and by far no one really created like the aftermarket replacement for that. And and I think I started working on this like 2 years ago, and what sparked me to do it is like one person did like a full reverse engineering of the radio protocol it is using, because it's using like some proprietary radio communication. It's not like Bluetooth or anything. So this is why we probably we haven't seen like any aftermarket replacements. But the cool thing is that one person like spent a lot of time figuring it out, and everything is like fully described, documented on GitHub. So like everybody is allowed to basically make a product. But I have my theory why this is like why we haven't seen the receivers yet. Because as I said, I started working on it 2 years ago, and I think I spent like half a year looking for a hardware that will basically do the job. Because the proprietary protocol Nintendo used on Wavebirds is like really difficult to do. I mean, it's not really possible with some like of the more common radio transceivers like ESP32 and like some others. So yeah, it took me like half a year to find like one specific microcontroller with radio that will be basically like could do the job, and I found it, and I made a prototype, and then me being me, I started working on 5 different projects, and this is why I haven't finished it yet. But yeah, I have the prototype here. This is what I shown on my Twitter. Yeah, it's working. It's not working like great, but I know what I have to fix in this, and and because right now I want to finish M2 Loader because it's like already done. I want to complete the project, sell it, and like close it, and then I will fully focus on finishing the receiver. Yeah.
Okay, because I that's the next thing that's just gonna set the community on fire.
Yes. I am fully aware of that. I mean, with Picoboot, I was like not expecting like it being that successful, and I mean, right now I am on the podcast with you, so that means something, right? You heard about it, and yeah, I mean, with Picoboot, like Hackaday or Tom's Hardware websites, they wrote articles about that, so it was like my mind was blown because obviously for example, the Hackaday is like the biggest website that covers like electronic projects. So I've been reading it for like, I don't know, 15 years, and right now they are writing about me. It's like the best feeling ever.
It's great, man.
So yeah, so Picoboot, I know that it's really successful, and I know that I am at least prepared for what is coming with Wavebird receiver, because as you said, it will be probably a big deal.
Yeah, so the Wavebird receiver is designed on its own? Does it work on its own, or does it need any of the other? I doubt it would, but I'm just saying, does it need anything else? Like, do you have to have the Picoboot installed to use it?
No, it fully emulates the original receiver. So it's just plug and play. You have to like set the channel, because on the controller you have like thumb wheel to set the channel. You have to set the same channel on the receiver, and it will pick up the signal and work.
Do you have the same little thumb wheel, or how do you do the channel?
I am still not decided, because having the thumb wheel is really like expensive. The part like the switch is really expensive, and also it's more difficult to manufacture, because Of course, I'm not going to like go. I'm not how successful it will be. I can't like do injection molded case for it. It's like I don't know, 15 grand to at least I think. So it's like way too much. I can't like pay for that. So I will be doing 3D printed cases for that, and with the thumb wheel, I think it will be like too complex. The design would be too complex. So what I was thinking, I will probably like put some buttons or like something. I mean, I was also thinking to put small OLED screen on that, but it will make the thing more expensive. So probably not the best idea, but
Sure.
I had some cool ideas for that as well. Yeah.
Well, the receive. I mean, right now you can go get controllers for half the price of the receivers. The funny
Yes,
thing,
yes.
It's so you get $25 controllers or $50 receivers. So it's definitely something that's needed, and it's not as if there's that even many of them.
We've got to do the Steve Nutter influencer effect here and buy the controllers now.
Oh
This is
yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
doing here in Poland. Yeah,
I'm gonna
doing
just
here-
go buy all the. I'm gonna make offers of $20 for all these Wavebird, these naked
Yeah.
Wavebird controllers.
Here in Poland, if a Wavebird shows up on online, I just buy it. So
Yeah.
I am not bragging or anything, but I have like 12 of them already. So
Nice.
I have a lot of Wavebirds.
I think I've got 2 or 3, maybe 2 full ones, and maybe I think I actually might have an extra receiver. I'm the weird one there. God, I should flip that. Fuck this. Why am I sitting on an
You
Oh,
extra
should
receiver?
before.
Right. That's the opposite
Before that
of
crashes.
the influencer effect. The price is about to crash on those bad boys. Maybe not 6 months, but
Yeah.
okay. I see how we go.
Well, cool.
Yeah, that's great. So right now, the prototype right now is just that. It's not, you haven't put a case around it or anything like that.
I mean, I started designing the case. Obviously, we will look like the original one.
Oh, that's your case, is it?
Yeah, it's 3D printed, right?
Ah, cool.
Looks good.
Yeah, so I was like playing with that a little bit, but of course for the development I am like not using the case at all because I need to program that and so on. Yeah, but I am looking forward to finishing this project. I think it's really cool. I enjoy doing it, and I have like some really cool ideas. I can maybe talk about some things here as well, because
Please do.
the chip I am using is actually capable of doing Bluetooth as well. So
Ooh.
maybe we can, probably that project Blue Retro that lets you use Bluetooth controller on various consoles. So maybe I can, for example, implement Bluetooth capabilities. So you can, you obviously would be able to use Wavebird, but maybe you can also use like DualShock controller or something. I don't know, but that's just one of the ideas I had.
Yes.
So
Yep, absolutely. Better bring out the stick. Because I saw right now, I just, something briefly flashed through my feed the other day that someone's designing a new GameCube faceplate, or that PCB that's got Blue Retro built into it. I saw that too. That looks a similar idea. It's cool.
yes, there are, I think, 2 projects because Greg from Laserbear, he is creating like, I think, the faceplate with Blue Retro module on it. So it will be like a Bluetooth controller thing. And there is also another person doing the faceplate, but it will have Picoboot integrated into it. So that's also really cool. Yeah.
Nice. Oh, this is great, man. So yeah, anything else you're working on, or anything else you want to tell us about? You seem to be doing so. Yeah, you do too many things. Focus.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of ideas, even for GameCube and for some other consoles. For GameCube, something that was never done before, we can create like the RAM expansion module for it. So if you remember Nintendo 64, it has like this expansion pack, and the same principle can work in GameCube because the high-speed port that is used for the Game Boy player can also like be used to interface with RAM module. So yeah, so this is what I want to do, but it's not like really useful for if you want to play games, but it will be useful for, like, for example, for some homebrew applications like emulators and so on. So yeah, I will probably do that someday, but we shouldn't only speak about my projects because there are like many different projects from other people also coming to GameCube, and I'm really looking forward to that as well.
Cool.
Great. So let's just where are you, like, if anybody hears this, what's the best place for them to go And is it your GitHub page, or is it you just want them to? Where would you like us to? Well, what do you want to plug here?
I mean, I think the only social platform I'm using for communication right now is Twitter. So if you want to follow the progress on some stuff I am doing, then you should follow me at Webhdx, Twitter. GitHub, of course, but my GitHub is really boring because there is like the work stuff I do professionally and Picoboot repository. So maybe if you want to get like updates on Picoboot, then you should go check the repository for that. Yeah, and I think Twitter, and I am sure that you will hear about me in some videos because I like working with content creators. So yeah, this is how I'll be announcing my projects.
Tremendous. Well, all right. Thank you very much for coming on. Thanks for your contributions to the GameCube community. We're all loving our cubes again, thanks to you. So good on you, mate. Thanks.
Yeah, glad to hear that because that was one of my ideas, like to spark some new life into the scene. So. Yeah, cool.
I mean, I'd be really excited to think a couple years from now if there is just out of this comes some kind of homebrew scene where we do get interesting homebrew, indie games or something. Who knows, really, or other software that just allows the machine to do more. It is exciting.
Yeah, I want to see that as well because like homebrew community for GameCube is really small, and I would like it to be bigger.
That is.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you much. Thank you very much for your time this evening. I appreciate you coming on after your day at work. So all good. All right, Steve. Thanks very much, mate. Thanks for joining us. And get your Pico boots on. All right. So everybody, thank you very much for joining in. Follow Webhdx on Twitter. We're going to have all the links. You all know about Picoboot. Thank you very much for behind the scenes. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.